Really tons of questions about how then China will guide economic growth this year.
Yeah, and this is obviously significant. They have been setting themselves growth targets for years, for decades. It's the first time in a long time that China will not be setting itself an annual growth target, citing the impact of the virus, again, according to this work report that has been seen by Bloomberg News. What it means in terms of broader targets for China's policymakers is that it seems very unlikely then that they will be able to meet this goal that Xi Jinping set himself of doubling China's GDP from 2010 levels to 2020. That was a target for this year that will very likely be missed because of the economic impact of the virus. Of course, growth contracted, I should say, 6.8% in the first quarter of this year. Most economists think that you'll get growth of maybe 1.8% for the full year of 2020. So the focus now will shift to what in its work report is said about efforts to stimulate the economy, and particularly questions about jobs, where you have the official unemployment rate at 6%. Most economists think it's somewhere between 10 and 20%. You're looking as well for the deficit target. Will they increase that to give themselves more room to stimulate the economy? And in terms of infrastructure spending, we're going to be looking at any lines on local government bond issuance, whether they'll raise the quota there, and sovereign bonds as well. And then there's the monetary policy side. The PBOC has said it's going to provide more support. So anything on a monetary policy front as well will give us an indication of how much firepower China's policymakers are going to turn on the economy now.
Yeah, that's right. And Tom, we're hearing further that we're expecting Premier Li Keqiang to say that by abandoning this growth target, which a lot of economists have said it's pretty arbitrary in previous years anyway, it allows the country to focus on things like you said, unemployment, on financial risks and poverty elimination. There's a lot of balls that they've got to juggle to make sure that they get through this with the stability that they're yearning for.
Absolutely, and it's something of a cliche to talk about the balancing act between financial risks and stimulating the economy, but nonetheless, that is a tightrope growth act that policymakers here have had to follow for a number of years. It's just become that much more extreme. One clear win for policymakers here, according to the economists that we've been speaking to, is their efforts to clamp down on shadow banking. And they see that as a real gain, and they want to hold on to that, and they want to hold on to the efforts they've made in curtailing some of the financial risks, even if you get total debt to GDP closing into 300 or 300%, something like that. So you're talking about some efforts that have been made. They don't want to lose that. In terms of the additional measures that we're expecting on the jobs front, Premier Li Keqiang has talked about the fact that he wants to focus more on employment and less on the growth story. And they have for a long time, officials here, talked about sustainability of growth and having a more sustainable growth picture. The other aim for President Xi Jinping is alleviating or eliminating poverty, absolute poverty. That was another goal for 2020. Again, that is going to be very difficult to achieve this year, given the rate of growth.